But that doesn't really happen with like all these videos of people taking with their phones of shit in the sky they see. This seems like a coordinated disinfo campaign, and now I'm going into conspiracy territory. But
yeah, I'm so proud of you, Matt. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I'll drink that Kool-Aid.
I would agree. I mean, it is a little excessive. I mean, it is COVID, so people have nothing else to do. However, and they might want some attention on social media. But I remember when this came out because you sent me the video, right?
There's a bunch of videos, and that one is fake, but there's a bunch of ones I found I think are pretty authentic. They're just more lights in the sky, kind of UFO stuff, moving at weird angles and all over the place. But this is where the story gets really interesting, because you're dealing with disinformation, you're dealing with misinformation, like you said, just people probably bored making stuff, but also actual real people out there trying to confuse the story. It feels like both. So the first thing that came out, there was all of a sudden a Google's map satellite image of like a disc-shaped object right in the crash site where people are saying this thing crashed. Like, happens on Google Images, it happens to be something, but comes to find out it's just a reflection. It's very common. The sensors from the satellite pick up reflections from the roof building nearby. It's no big deal. Plus, like, really think about it. Google satellite images are not updating every day. So it's not like the UFO crashed and 15 minutes later took a picture. So that whole thing is just ridiculous. I want to read you a comment from YouTube that really got me fired up, because this is when, because you can't tell if it's real. Like, you just can't. Like, there's too much shit so quick. Like, they're really good at what they do. But what you got to do is cut through the bullshit and really read comments and try to find people who are going deep on this shit. But this is what this guy said. I'm going to read it to you quick. It's really, it's just crazy. A lot of people saw this. This is a big event. This was thousands of people witnessing. It's a big deal down there. And to us, it's becoming some sort of fragmented story that, like, maybe it was real, maybe it was a hoax. Who knows? Who cares? Let's move on. This is what they want. Okay. So this is what Daniel Oliveira said on YouTube under a video about this, about the incident. Okay. He says, what happened? It's a lot of lights were seen by many people, followed by a loud sound. Also followed by the presence of several helicopters at different times. Here in Brazil, hundreds of videos of the residents of these lights in the sky circulate, and an entire city confirms this. But nobody knows for sure if it fell. Those who say they saw it fall after the loud sound say it fell close to a Brazilian war industry here in the city. After the smoke from the video, some gunshots were heard. But the area is, of course, military and isolated. No one accessed it. So today, what we really have are the lights in the sky, which are the same as that people are seeing around the world, he mentions, and the loud explosion sound. Okay, he goes on and on and on, and then he says, but there are so many theories and videos and photos and audios passing here in Brazil that it's difficult to know what is fake or not, just like I'm dealing with. Some say that the Brazilian army slaughtered humanoid beings of 2 meters roughly height in the forest, and that's why you hear sounds of gunshots. There is a video where you hear someone filming near the facility and you hear gunshots in the distance, and it's kind of alarming. You're like, oh, that's just weird.
Yeah, I think that's the one I saw.
Yeah, they're all connected. You see everything.
I saw too. Yeah.
But again, like, is that a real video, or is that someone who happened to be by the facility and heard a gunshot once upon a time? I don't know. But others saw the American Army was there a few hours after the incident, and I'm going to get into this in a second, and helped catch 2 more aliens. So there was some sort of alien hunt going on the ground. Okay.
Dun, 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 dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun, the right stuff. I'm going to cut that out. That was ridiculous. No, I'm leaving it in. Whatever. Fuck it. Yeah. Big dick energy. Okay. So, all right, moving on. Next thing. So that blew my mind. That guy's comment got me going. I was like, what's going on here? So who did I turn to next? I came across our good friend Linda Moulton Howe. You know, if you know something's going down alien-y, Linda's going to find out about it. She's going to get an email from somebody.
Woo!
Oh, Linda. All right.
She breaks it down so good on her site, Earth Files. I mean, I kid, but I love Linda, and her research is awesome. The first thing, there's 2 things I'm going to play from Linda that are really fascinating. One, not play, or read about. One was a radio transmission that's going around that supposedly is she got access to, that is 2 military officers talking to each other, dealing with the incident, and it was translated for her by a woman she knows in Portuguese. There's a clip on her site, and I'll set the link up. I'm not going to play it because I think that's illegal, but I'll just read a couple of the things they said. A La Cantara base confirms the damage of the object was an American shot. What does that mean?
So they shot it down?
That's what they, yes. I'm going to get into this a little more, but yes, it looks like
an American shot.
Yeah, so the way this is translated, so what does that mean? So they Americans shot it down. So there's 3 UFOs, 1 got shot down. And as we know from Greer's research and other insiders, that we target extraterrestrial vehicles with energy weapons and other types of technology and purposely try to shoot them down. For what reason? I don't know. Sounds like a good idea. Just shoot down people way more advanced than us. It's really cool, man. Really cool. Like, why would they shoot it down? Like, what? It seems just so risky to shoot down something way more advanced than you. But guess what? The aliens have incredible restraint. They never shoot back. So what is that about? Anyways, That's just a side rant. So there's a whole radio transaction that goes back and forth between these two people, and they talk about there's aliens on the ground. There's so much material, they got to cover it. A drone flies over, they have to shoot it down. All these people are trying to get in there and see what's going on, so they're covering up. They are trying, but they're also scared. They're like, you got to come back with all sorts of stuff on. Don't go in there just with normal clothes on. What's going on? So, anyways, the next thing that Linda gets is a letter from an alleged Brazilian military whistleblower, and this letter kind of ties it all together and gives the backstory if it's real. I thought it was really compelling. I am going to read it to you verbatim. So before I get into the actual event, this letter goes into detail about multiple events beforehand. So there was a build-up. There was lots of UFO activity happening in this area area of the world over and over again, and then finally this is the night. So something was going on there. Like, why do they keep showing up there? So here's what happened that night. On May 12, 2020, the Airspace Control Detachment of the Pico de Cotu, oh my God, I'm even trying to pronounce that, detected the increase of inexplicable activities in a very intense way in the region. At about 8 p.m. of the same day, U.S. military reported to the Brazilian government that a UFO had fallen in a forest area in the area of Magé, Rio de Janeiro. The United States Department of Defense then ordered General John Raymond to deploy 20 Special Forces soldiers to the region, being 10 from the U.S. Space Force and 10 from the Space Aggressor 26 Squadron commanded by Captain Barnes.
Space Aggressor?
Space Aggressor. That's what a title. I want that.
I know. That's cool. I never heard of that before.
Sergeant Tittle Space Aggressor. Yes.
Yeah, powerful.
So they're saying they sent this is the newly...
Not passive aggressive.
This is the newly updated Space Force that they sent in? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. Oh, this is all part of this. Of course, Space Force is going to deal with crashed. You know what I mean? Of course, that's what they deal with for real, and the rest is just bullshit.
Well, you know, it's funny. We bring up him all the time, but Patrick and his research with the spheres and how the spheres are like protecting us from possible interferences that are not supposed to come to Earth. Is it possible that this is Patrick's idea that the Space Force is working with that system that he discovered with those spheres to make sure that nothing is coming through at all. So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Like, that's not the judgment. The whole thing is that they're working with those spheres to make sure that nothing comes through. And if there is a hole over South America, then that would be a concern. I mean, it's so interesting how fast they were able to get there. They must have known.
Right. There must have been a lot of activity in the area. They probably moved their own aircraft down there.
For sure.
Yeah. Just a side comment. Okay.
Connecting dots.
Interesting.
Connecting dots.
That Patrick AI stuff, man, I feel like there's going to be more to come with that because it ties everything together. Okay. In the early hours of May 13, 2020, the U.S. military disembarked at a Brazilian military air base in the state of Sao Paulo and traveled in FAB planes to the military base in Rio. The operation was baptized with the codename Organ Range, which is the mountains in that area look like organs or some sort of musical instrument. I forget the exact details. It is important to note that the Brazilian military personnel provided only logistical support. The U.S. military, which we hear around the world, like a lot of times we're sent in when these things happen. The U.S., because they must all be in cahoots together about it. The U.S. military personnel informed us that visits of these objects to Earth have been more and more frequent in the world. When the U.S. military arrived at the place where the object had fallen, they verified that there were 3 intruders in the damaged ship. Then at around 7 p.m., the U.S. military, armed with advanced technological devices unknown to the Brazilian military, intercepted and killed a being with humanoid characteristics of approximately 6.6 feet tall in the region of that area.
He's a big bastard. All right.
Wow. Does he play basketball?
Yeah, he must. What's like that tall, though? I mean, short grays are not obviously out of the picture. Ebens are out of the picture. What other races off the top of your guys' head are like 6.6? So they don't go into like what they look like. They don't say anything. Like, is it humanoid?
They said human-like, though. Correct?
Yeah, so it probably wasn't a gray. It probably was like some sort of Nordic or something like that.
Yeah, the Nordics are supposed to be pretty big dudes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6.6, but they don't give any details. So I don't know. I mean, that's a big boy. Usually, you always hear about the little ones, right? When they hunt them down.
Yeah.
The other two
did they mention a girth? Sorry, keep going.
All they said, no. It was Venus. That's all they said.
Sorry, I had to squeeze a dick joke in there somewhere.
Oh my god.
Carry on.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right, coming back. Ready?
So human-like, not gray. Okay, keep
not
going.
gray. See, well, I mean, we don't know. It could be a tall gray. I don't know how fucking.
No, but
tall
they
those
said
skinny little bitches
human-like. Grays do not look human at all.
That's true. Humanoid characteristics. Yeah, you wouldn't say humanoid characteristics if it was a gray. So clearly, a more human-like looking alien. Mm-hmm. The other two beings were captured, wounded, but alive in the same region. On May 14, 2020, the beings, along with all the displacement forces, were transported to U.S. military bases. All U.S. military has left Brazil, and they're patrolling the region. And there are no new significant reports of unexplained phenomenon sightings in the region. So whatever happened was the end of it. I don't know what that means. Maybe there was they were pushing them back or something like that. Maybe there was some sort of back and forth going on, but now it's not happening. I have no idea. So I wish I had some sort of conclusion to this, other than it's died down, other than it's a classic UFO case where something clearly happened. Thousands of people don't witness something and take authentic videos. And on the ground, it was in the news. There was all this stuff about it. There was helicopters. Clearly, the military was there, even though they said they weren't. So there's video of the military showing up. Clearly, an event took place. Clearly, there were lights in the skies. It's unconfirmed if they killed actual aliens. This is all clearly a letter from an anonymous source through Linda Moulton Howe. I don't know how much stock you put into it, but it looks really good. But the reason why I think this is a real case and why this is significant is that there's so much disinformation and misinformation around it, and there's no way it was nothing. They wouldn't put that much effort into it. It just seems too good to be true. But of course, the truth is somewhere in between. Maybe there was UFOs, and maybe that was it. Nothing ever crashed. You know what I mean? What and everything else got taken out of context. I don't know, but I thought it was fascinating. It was super cool, the research and the connection with what you brought up, Matt, earlier, which I fully don't understand, with the energy and the hole over that area. Just really all put it into place. I thought it was fascinating. Also, the U.S. military said that it's happening more and more and more. It's not just articles, it's not just us, it's not just anecdotally. It is happening more and more and more. Even Peter Davenport, the U.S. Reporting Center, has even said this, that it's increasing over and over. And I mean, the National UFO Reporting Center has said that we are seeing an increase in activity. I don't know what it all means, but I'm hoping it means disclosure.
The audio of the supposed military interception of their back and forth, whether it was translated. I mean, if that's legit, that's super compelling stuff. I don't speak Spanish, so what is it, Portuguese, actually?
Portuguese, my people. I'm 50% Portuguese. I should know how to speak it, but I don't. But anyway, it's a different story.
So I don't know how accurate that is or whether that's legit or not, but that in and of itself, I think, is pretty wow, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wild story. But what do we got coming next, Mr. O'Connor? I thought you dove deep into some crazy happenings that have been increasing lately, didn't you? But you went off on a whole different tangent.
I did. There was so much UFO stuff, and as fascinating as that is, I wanted to go into something a little more darker, because that's kind of what I do.
Oh shit!
Because I like that.
So this took place not in South America, correct?
The thing that I'm going into? Mm-hmm. Well, this took place in Florida. So I started looking into the paranormal aspect of this whole, everyone being in quarantine. And I was reading, there was a psychic talking about how, the increased anxiety and fear and all sorts of stuff happening around the world. We talk about those energy vampire entities that kind of feed off that fear and stuff.
Yeah, yes. And sadness and depression.
Yeah, all that
everything.
negative energy. She was kind of talking about how, that it is kind of not releasing, but there's just more of these interdimensional mosquitoes coming through and trying to feed off this bad energy kind of thing. Which I thought was kind of interesting. But I wanted to like find something real. There's a lot of ghost stories of people people are stuck indoors, so they're going to see a bunch more stuff, and there's a bunch more frequency of things dropping off the walls and windows shutting and loud noises and all sorts of stuff happening because people are home much more than they used to be. But so I was digging through some stuff, and I wanted to find some evidence. It's just it's fun to read stories and stuff, but I wanted to find something with photos or video evidence and stuff. Yeah. So something popped up, and it was a little bit beyond what I was looking for, but I was still blown away by it because it was just good fun. So there was a guy in Florida, and it was only a couple of days ago, as far as I can see,
Yeah.
But he was
undisclosed location in Florida.
just some location in Florida.